Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. This is my MSP torque version. We've been through a lot together, but today we're here to talk about some basics. And the basics include obviously gear, gloves, jacket, pads, and some really good shoes. But in light of these new wheels that are coming out, it's important to note that they're very heavy. So these new wheels have some massive weight to them, and I thought it would be important, or it's important, to at least bring it up to new riders. More experienced riders will let you know that these wheels and their weight matter, and for the one reason is acceleration. If you notice with the Sherman, although it was a very fast wheel, acceleration was definitely a thing to contend with off the line and in traffic. So if you're the type of person that loves to ride in traffic, or you're new, so but I'm not speaking about brand new riders, like someone who's like never ridden before. I'm speaking to new riders with experience, okay, but not with heavy wheels. So for brand new riders out of the box, I definitely don't recommend any of these new wheels that are coming out. That's the Commander, the Hero, the KS20, or the Abrams. I don't recommend any of these. I don't even recommend this MSP, but by you purchasing this MSP is actually not a bad idea, but I don't recommend it. For the reason that, again, acceleration, you're going to notice it's going to be hard to get it going because of its weight and the amount of effort you'll have to put into it to get it to go. Also because of stopping power. So a lot of these wheels, they have amazing motors, like really, really powerful, right? Upwards of 2600 watts. But you'll find that as a new rider, it's going to be very hard for you because of your muscles. Your muscles have to be conditioned over time to handle that. So one thing you'll know is, or you should know as a new rider, by trying to stop on one of these, especially if it's very heavy, you're going to induce a lot of it's likely you will induce a lot of wobbles, because if you don't brake properly with these, meaning if one leg is more pressure, if you are putting more pressure on one end versus the other, and it's not even, and then you're not bringing your butt down to the ground as you should properly, then you could induce a wobble, and that would be very detrimental for you, especially in a heavy wheel like any of these new wheels. Another thing is, like I said, acceleration, but beyond acceleration is maneuvering. So if an object comes in your way, etc., if you're trying to turn really fast, you're going to have to really have some setup with these big wheels. Even for me, who understands how to ride really well, the Sherman was really tough in traffic. I had to give it some time, and I didn't have it long enough in order for me to figure out how to maneuver it in traffic, like heavy traffic, but as I'll show in some of these videos coming up, it's definitely something to contend with. So let's just show you some of those videos, for example. Okay, so it's very important to know your wheel. I have this set up in ideal. I think it's in hard mode right now. It definitely doesn't give me too much give, so I know it's in hard mode. So for me particularly, I don't lean like many people do, like lean forward hard. I try not to do that because that gives me no room to back off in case anything happens, you know what I mean? So what I like to do is put one leg forward with my foot, as you can see, my back heel up a little bit and my toe pressing on the front, whereas the other leg is basically flat. I can also use the other leg to accelerate, but for me personally, I am more versed with the left leg, performing all of the maneuvers, basically. So let's do an acceleration here. There you go. That's a beautiful form of acceleration. If I really, really want to take it off the line, I just really lean into it. It doesn't mean that I can't fall. It doesn't mean that. It just means that I have more of a chance of escaping the fall. There we go. Whoa. And another thing about this awesome way of accelerating is I can feel what the wheel is doing before I experience the consequences of a bad acceleration. You know what I mean? So that's the benefit of accelerating this way. Alright. So let's do that one more time. So here we go. So you notice my right side is flat. This is mainly for stability. This side right here is more for acceleration. And it's funny because my body is mostly up. My body is mostly up, you know what I mean? So that gives me a lot of control. So let's try to accelerate and brake. Hold on for a second. Turn around. Got to be careful of these grass. I mean, the leaves, they're dry, so not too worried. But anyway, we're going to accelerate and try to brake. All right, so here we go. Accelerate, brake. All right. So if you notice, my body dropped really far down. Let's do it again. All right. Accelerate. Okay. Come on. Brake. Whoa. So you see this wobble? You see this shaking? That was because, I mean, I'm used to it. I'm used to the MSPs wobbling a little bit. But what you don't want to do is be afraid of it. All you want to do is make sure that your body is balanced while braking, and that the wheel, both pedals have equal pressure, or at least close to equal pressure, because you're going to experience wobbles at a very high rate of speed. It's just going to happen. Now, what I noticed also with some riders is when you're riding really fast, well, not even fast, but at a good rate of speed, your legs are straight. I notice a lot of people, new riders, their legs are pretty straight, and when they experience the wobble, they go like this. They go like this, right? And what happens is they continue to stay straight like this. That's not acceptable. What you ought to do is when you start shaking like this, is if you can, just lower your body slowly and don't fight the wheel. Just let the wheel roll. In case you end up falling, at least you'll be much lower to the ground. Okay, so yeah, it's just something I want to mention. Also, maneuverability is very important. Maneuverability is very important too. So if you're riding really fast, you can already feel if you're a balanced rider or not. Okay, you can already feel it over time. The more you give yourself time to ride, the more you'll understand if you're a balanced rider or not. What I mean by that is, if you're making a turn, are you turning like this? Look at me. Are you turning like this? You see what I'm saying? You're giving your body very little room to turn aggressively. This is not a good way to turn in case of an emergency, because this type of turning where you're using your hips only allows for wide angles, wide turns. So if you, in my case, I like turning with this leg, right? So I can make sharp turns. I can make sharp turns, you know? I can make real sharp turns. Whoa, you see? Real sharp turns. So some people carve, some people like to carve, but even carving, unless you anticipate your object that you're trying to get away from, you might end up missing your target, or at least hitting the object. So another thing that's important is tire pressure. So obviously I like to jump. I'm still not perfect at it, but I still love jumping. And as you can see, my jumping is not perfect, but I'll get there. If you can watch more experienced riders jumping like wrong way, he'll tell you that you have to have a higher pressure so that your rims don't get bent. But it's kind of like a double-edged sword, because if you have too much pressure and you're trying to carve or you're trying to accelerate, you can cause wobbles that way as well. So definitely keep that in mind. And this seems kind of normal, or trivial, I should say. But in my 12-step process of learning how to ride, one thing I do is have you keep the wheel on your leg like this, just to feel the weight. Now, in the beginning, this used to be very heavy to me, but now it feels great. I can move it around because I have complete control. The pads help too. The pads help a lot. But if you buy a KS20 or a Commando or Abrams or Hero, the immediate thing you're going to realize is these wheels are going to want to fall down. They're going to want to like, whoa, 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 fall down on you. You know what I mean? But this thing is pretty light for me, so it's not that big a deal because I've had it for so long. But with the Commander, Abrams, Sherman, even when I had it, it was like, wow, this thing is insanely heavy. So it took me a while to get used to it. So definitely consider all of that. These are just basics. So I hope this helps you guys. Let's go for a ride. Let's do this. Always going to be some type of wobble if you're going too fast in a turn. It's just going to happen, especially on wheels that have a curved base, unlike the Sherman. The Sherman is probably the only wheel I've never experienced any form of wobble, mostly because of how the tire base is very flat compared to his. So I definitely recommend a flat type of surface if you can. This is very round, as many of the wheels are, but guys, the difference is like night and day. So if you plan on getting any of these new wheels, congratulations, but just keep this in mind. Yes. Woo! One thing I forgot to mention, make sure your app that you're using is synchronized, man. That will save you a lot of time, a lot of trouble. So make sure you have your alarms and you'll be good. Later.